we got to talk about the second round of GM interviews, baby, because we have new information. So, when we talked about this last week, I believe it was, at that point, the two in-house candidates that we have in terms of Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan had not been interviewed by the Pittsburgh Steelers that second go around. And when we talked about it, I know I had made the comment that, hey, maybe this is kind of like the Kenny Pickett approach. You know, when they were going all the dinners and pro days for Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, we're hearing about all this other chatter. And it was almost in a sense that we forgot, you know, Kenny, because it was like, well, man, they're not even talking about, they're not even checking them out. But then when they drafted them, the thing they said was we didn't need to do all this because we were already very familiar with them, with him. And we already knew a lot about him, coaching staff, everything like that.
And they didn't think he was going to be available.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah. So it was like, you hear all of that. That's right. Because they're talking about even trading up to get him. But more importantly, that was why they weren't doing a ton of visits and talking and meeting with him. So we thought it was going to be a similar approach with Omar Khan and Brandon Hunt. Well, that was the case until this week. Omar Khan did get his second interview with the Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, I was excited about it, but at the same time, I started to overthink it a little bit as well. I was excited in the sense that it's good to know that the in-house candidates are being viewed seriously. They are being viewed as a final candidate, so to speak, as we're getting to this second wave of in-person interviews. I think that when you talk about Omar, he's been a part of this organization since 2001. So the longevity is there. The consistency is there. We know that he's extremely good at his job, but we also know that he is a numbers guy, a finance guy. That's been, you know, his role with the Steelers. He's been on the money side, not necessarily the personnel or, you know, what we like to call the football side of things. So we understand that that's a little bit of a knock on him. But all of these guys that we've talked about, whether they've had multiple interviews or a singular interview with the team, we all kind of felt like they had some good about them and some not so good. But as a whole, I did like the fact that he got this second interview. What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think just par for the course if we're seriously considering him. Give him the second interview. And seems him and Brandon Hunt definitely very qualified to take that next step to be general managers. So, I don't really think too much of it because we also brought in, as we talked about in the past, Andy Weidel, Ryan Cowden, Spytek from the Bucks.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about Doug Whaley. I guess it's just the way they're going to be doing business as opposed to what kind of we were talking about a couple podcasts ago. Yeah. And as you mentioned here, that, all right, we already know these guys in-house. Yeah. We're just going to kind of skip doing the extra stuff with them. I don't think anything too crazy. I mean, we could talk about what his role would be or how we feel about him being the GM, right? Being the numbers guy. I know you've said in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, you would take him over Hunt.
In a sense, if I have Coach Tomlin here, because I trust Coach Tomlin.
I was going to bring that up.
The scouting element of it and just his eye for talent and his ability to develop the talent. But I do think you need a numbers guy, a guy that can make the cap work, because as we've seen on numerous occasions, the cap could have us in some binds. Now, I do understand in terms of context, that is because we had been, not as a negative, but just in the sense of when you don't have a rookie quarterback salary, you do have to have a little bit more, you know, creativity as it pertains to the cap when you have a quarterback just taking up the amount that he was taking up. And that's standard protocol in the league. The teams that have guys that can make the numbers work, they find ways to keep talent in-house while being able to keep that quarterback paid and happy. Whereas in our situation right now, it's probably going to be different. Well, it is different because we don't have that robust salary at quarterback. So maybe the numbers aren't as important these first couple of years based on the quarterback situation that we currently have. But once whoever is our quarterback does sign that big deal, that's when I think that GM and the numbers element become a lot more to the forefront.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. If we do have Con in here, I mean, he's not going to be our expert scout, right?
Right.
So you just trust Tomlin, I would assume, unless Con all of a sudden thinks he has this plethora of football knowledge because he's got the power. You just kind of say, "Oh, I think this guy." It almost be like,
right.
I think if I had to, actually, I don't know. I don't know if I'm more of a numbers guy or a scout, but either way, just imagine me as a GM. I'm watching. So, this guy looks good. We're gonna go with him. That's what could happen if you got the power. But if Colin wants to do his job right, I'm assuming he would rely on some expert opinion, and especially being Tomlin in house, I don't know if he takes more of a step up in the GM type of role or being advised more because Kevin Colbert's out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure
Kevin Colbert was the veteran when Tomlin came in.
Correct. Yeah, I'm sure to an extent Coach Tomlin will take a little bit of a bigger role in terms of some of the GM responsibilities, even if it's not by title. Not saying that you're going to say Coach Tomlin's head coach and GM or head coach and assistant GM, but just natural progression, like you were just saying. Yes, he is going to have some of that role, but I also wonder how much is it going to be, because we also know that Kevin Colbert is not a hard stop come May 31st when his contract ends. He's still going to be around. He's just not going to be the full-time head GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's still going to be involved. So that was the other part for me where I'm just kind of like, if you're the Steelers, could you potentially take a little bit more of a chance on somebody that isn't as experienced when we talk about Omar Khan or Brandon Hunt in comparison to some of these other guys, Doug Whaley, some of the other guys we mentioned that have already been in GM roles? You might say to yourself, well, since we're still going to have Kevin Colbert in the facility, hey man, it's all right. Or at least we're going to have access to his resource, to his mind. It's like, you know what, we can take a chance on somebody that's a little bit unproven because we know we still have a pseudo training wheels essentially for that person.
How do you feel about it? I mean, we've talked about this before a couple times, but I'm thinking it makes more sense to go in-house if that's going to be the case. I can't see a scenario where some of these outside guys come in and are that thrilled that Colbert's around.
True, but if you're an in-house guy, why would you be thrilled about it either? Because you're always going to be undermined. Everything that you do that is deemed successful, they're going to say it's because of who? They're going to say, well, you got the puppet master there. He's telling you what to do. He's giving you the answers to the test.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how Omar Khan and Brandon Hunt's relationship's like with Kevin Colbert.
No, I hope I didn't come off to make it seem like it was any. Yeah, I was say I don't feel like it's anything like that between those guys. From everything that I've seen, it's been a good working relationship. I mean, when you talk about both of those guys being part of the organization as long as they've been, like I said, Omar Khan since 2001, Brandon Hunt 05, left for 2, came back in 09. These are still decade long tenured guys we're talking about here. So with that, I mean, you're not going to stay somewhere that long if you really got that type of tension with the person. But the thing that I started to think about even more when I started to look at this, and I'm like, okay, Omar Khan, you get the second interview. We haven't heard from Brandon Hunt just yet. But then we got a chance to see that Brandon Hunt has also been getting interviews. We talked about him getting interviewed in the front office for Philly. Was that 2 weeks ago? And then last week, he got an interview for an assistant general manager position. Yeah. You want me to tell you where it was at? You know where? Listen. It's a spot that you're very familiar with. I know you love their colorway. You love the Zubaz design as well. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Hunt did get a chance to interview for the assistant general manager position in Buffalo. I think it would be phenomenal at that, by the way. Just throwing it out there if I had to, give a recommendation.
What does he have here? Is it not assistant GM? Is it a pseudo assistant GM? No,
not at all. No, so for just Omar Khan and Brandon Hunt. So for Omar Khan, Omar Khan's official title is Vice President of Football and Business Administration. For Brandon Hunt, his official title is Steelers Pro Scouting Coordinator. So for both of them, whether you're talking GM or assistant GM, well, maybe not I'm sure for Omar Khan, assistant GM and what he's doing is probably some type of similarities with him being on the administration side of it. Whereas for Brandon Hunt, assistant GM is still going to be a major step up for him. Obviously, being GM is going to be even bigger. But as I was reading about Brandon Hunt taking the interview for the assistant GM spot in Buffalo this week, it had me wondering. I was thinking to myself, even though there isn't really a timetable on when the Steelers need to replace their GM, because it's not like head coach, it's not like quarterback, it's not like a position where on a day-to-day you're going to feel it. We know the GM is important in the sense of free agent moves in terms of negotiating contracts. We know Deontay has a contract extension coming up. We know we might want to sign a different veteran player that we've been talking about as we've been going through these shows, whether it's running back, linebacker, corner, whatever. So the GM, you need him for that element of it, but there really isn't a sense of urgency that the Steelers have to operate with. But what I thought of when I'm, going through this mindset, I said, well, maybe this is Brandon Hunt's way of kind of getting that ball rolling a little bit more. If he feels that, he wants to be the guy here, but they're taking their time with the interviews. I know for me, when I went through my contract negotiations with the Steelers, it really heated up when I showed them I had another dance partner. When it was somebody else that showed interest, that's what got their attention even more. And it really expedited the deal getting done. I wondered to myself with Brandon Hunt and even Omar Khan to an extent, it's like, you guys have been here for as long as we've talked about, and you're waiting for this opportunity. But obviously for the Steelers, they don't have to rush this thing. It's zero reason why they would need to rush. No. But as I'm looking at Omar and Brandon talk to other teams, I'm like, is this a scenario where, we might want to operate a little bit faster to keep them guys, like, especially we feel like they are as talented as they are. And we do think that either one of them is more than qualified for being the GM for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But as this thing is taking its time, my thought process is, do we need to worry about the potential of losing out on one of those guys? And now we're forced to settle on candidate 3, candidate number 4, etc. Because while we were waiting, doing our interview process, taking our time, they was like, you know what? I'm just go ahead and get this job right here. This is better for me. I know I can get this. I don't have to wait. Just had me thinking about that, man. What's your thought process, though, man?
I think that would only be for Brandon Hunt as of right now, because from everything I'm reading, the Omar Khan interest has kind of died down. I think that was the Bears earlier on, but he didn't get that job. Maybe there was another team, but that didn't happen either. So I haven't seen anything like this for Omar Khan, at least what Brandon Hunt's getting.
Yeah, and the thing for Omar that's different than Brandon is this. Remember, Omar has already been on the GM interview circuit for the past 3 years. I think it was Texans. They interviewed him first a couple of years ago. Then you talked about Chicago, and then there was another team that I'm drawing a blank on that also had interest in him over this past couple of years. Whereas for Brandon Hunt, this is kind of like his first real go around at this process in terms of interviews and talking to other teams. So I do think that does play into it as well. Yeah.
And like you said, I guess Omar Khan trying to take anything less than a GM role would be basically a lateral move.
Yeah.
So why would he do it? Whereas if you think, I trust you on this, Brandon Hunt going over to be assistant GM with Buffalo would be at least a step up.
It is.
Then that makes sense for him. Yeah. That's one, probably why he took the interview. But also, you're right. I mean, you got to do what's best for you. Now with the Steelers, I think you're right. Their timeline, they could take as ever long as they want.
Yeah.
Colbert will still be around. And also, I think they're going at it from the mindset of, we want this GM to be around for, the next 10, 15 years, because that's just how we operate. Think of how we've done with Tomlin, Cowher, just all the coaches we've had. We've had Kevin Colbert as the GM over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
So I think they're like, who is going to fit into this Steelers organization, this Steeler family? So they're taking their time, and rightfully so. But for Brandon Hunt, he's trying to get in the best position he can for his career, and rightfully so. So right now, I think between the two, it would just be Brandon Hunt we would potentially miss out on.
Does that make you concerned, though?
No, I think we brought in so many dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have, 14, 15, 16 guys that we brought in. I don't know what portion have all been second interviews, probably half of them, based off that article I was just reading. There's probably about 6 or 7 we've done for second interviews. But we haven't done a second interview with Hunt just yet.
We haven't, and that's what made it interesting when I saw Omar Khan get the second interview.
There's this headline right here, as you can see. They're set to get second interviews. Omar Khan's was completed. I don't know when Brandon Hunt's will be, because I guess Steelers will post that on Twitter when it happens. But I guess he's still set to get one with us. So I don't know. I mean, I would feel like if the Steelers have their guy in Brandon Hunt, like, they're gonna make sure he doesn't go up to Buffalo for the assistant GM, even though he is looking around. They would tell him, hey man, it would be like the Ben called to Juju last year. Hey, before you make
Right.
a move or anything, like, give me a call.
Yeah.
Like, if Brandon Hunt is their guy and he's looking to be assistant GM up in Buffalo, I'm sure they'll make sure that doesn't happen.
I mean, I hope so.
That's my guess.
I hope so. Because my other thing is just kind of like, I could see them also taking the stance of, well, we're working on our schedule. We're still evaluating these candidates. You might want to sign right now. You might want to get this done next week. We don't. And just the difference of timelines could create a potential issue.
But I don't think the Steelers are wrong for that.
No, I agree. I don't think either side is wrong. Like, I don't think Brandon Hunt is wrong for taking the interview. I think that it's legitimate that he took the interview. I think that's the part to me that was so intriguing. I'm like, it's one thing for it to be mutual interest. It's one thing for them to say that they're interested in you, but you actually going to take that interview. That is an eye opener. That is it is that interest is real. He could potentially leave us. They could offer him that job right there on the spot, in a sense, so I do think.
That would be a good job for him.
Oh, it'd be a great job for him. Come on, man.
I don't know about great.
Come on, man. Chill out. It'd be a great job for him, man. It's a step in the right direction. What you mean, man? He trying to win him another ring, baby. Come on, baby. Chill out.
Come on, man. How about Louis Riddick, though? Did you see that news today?
I did not. The extension, right?
Signed a long-term deal with ESPN, so I guess he's out of the running for the Steelers.
Yeah. How long was the deal? Did they give the specifics of the details? Was it a 10 for $375?
I didn't see all that.
But
I thought we gave him a second interview.
We did. Yeah, we talked to him. So depending on how that interview went, or I don't know how that contract is, because I think of all those guys that signed TV deals. Some of them still have the flexibility that if they really want to come out the booth, Jason Witten, prime example. He was in the booth, and then a year later, he was on the field.
Yeah, maybe there's a contract clause. So maybe he's getting the best of both worlds.
Right.
He's getting a long-term extension with ESPN, but maybe there's something in there. Yeah, if I get offered a GM job, I can get out of this contract. Yeah. So that might even happen in a couple weeks.
Because that's my thing. I was like, I don't know the full details of it, but we're not going to act like we don't see guys that are in the booth that we know got deals leave out the booth and come right back to where there's coaching or playing in certain extents, man. So, yeah.
I don't know when we're going to see our next GM.
Yeah, because like I said, Kevin Colbert's contract ends May 31st. So that's essentially 2 weeks from now. I still think I would be surprised if they named a GM in those 2 weeks.
Really?
I would. I don't think they have the urgency. I don't think they need to. I mean, if they do, great. I'm not tripping on it, but I just don't think that they feel like it has to happen right then, because it's not like he's getting fired. When you talk about a guy getting fired, it's a hard stop. This is really not a hard stop. It's like a soft stop in a sense. Like, he's still going to.
How about Colbert just comes back? How about that?
Well, he don't want to invest that time. Yeah.
Understood.
This is difference, man.
Understood. If that's the case, you can't really do anything about that. Absolutely.
Because that's why he's still going to stay around. But it's a difference between that full-time commitment versus what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. But no, he's done a really good job this offseason, I thought.
For a fact he has, man. You brought in your boy.
The only reason I think you would have the urgency, or from a fan's perspective, I guess, is just to make signings.
Yeah.
I don't think we need any huge signings right now. Bradbury just signed with the Eagles.
One for, was it 7.5 or something like that?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's like one for 7.5. Uh-huh. No. I was going to text you when I saw it. I was like, oh, that was it? Yeah. I think it could get up to 10. It can get up to like 10 or something like that, but it was like one for 7.5.
That's tough.
Uh-huh. Yes, bro.
That's tough.
Yes.
Akello's our guy, though.
So, hey, whatever we need to say to get us through that. Whatever we need to say to get us through it, bro.
Not rock the boat, right?
Whatever we need to say to get us through it, but yeah, bro. I was not too fond.
Because what else are we really missing, or who else is out there? I mean, we could talk about some depth guys, and we have been doing that. And I guess we're going to talk about it a little bit today with the position group.
Yeah. So it is one for 7.5 up to 10 guaranteed. It can get up to 10.
There's nothing out there that's super glaring, though, that we're missing out on.
Well, yeah, and then what you got? Tariq Cohen just blew his Achilles out.
Yeah.
That's
sad. Felt bad for me. I mean, even videoed the thing too.
That's what they said. He was on live when it happened.
That's sad.
My boys hit me up like,
really
bro,
sad.
It really like we could tell. I'm like, nah, it ain't look like that. They're like, nah, bro, it looked bad. I'm like, oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah, really bad luck for him.
Yeah, but he'll probably be like the next like bigger name. I'm trying to think, because receivers is big names, or receivers that we don't necessarily have that same energy. Maybe. Well, I mean, we'll discuss it in a second, but. That's
the only thing would be if Tuitt's not coming back. But we just drafted Liao.
Yeah. Is Leal ready to replace Tua day one, though? That's the question.
No, probably not. So then we could just look at some guys that are on the defensive line. But from what I remember, I don't think we've checked that recently. I don't think the market's that robust for those dudes.
We haven't got there yet. That might be Friday. You know, we're picking a different position each day. Chill out. We ain't gonna rush it. Come on, man. We operating like the Steelers. We got time.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, it's not like we have these crazy moves we still got to make.
Yeah.